everybody. I apologize for not making a video this week on Friday. I feel so bad. I apologize. I just came back from Texas and boy am I grateful. It is still hot here, but to me not as hot, okay? But still, thing still stands. Also, I'm with my hijos right here. I love my babies. Fishudine's growing as well as Jeffrey. Jeffrey's growing real big. He's growing. He's changing colors. I am absolutely in love. By the way, this is what Jeffrey looks like right now. He's my baby, and so is Fishudine. My children. My children. Anywho, today we're gonna be reading Pandemic X Virus. X listener up in here. Apologies for taking so long to get right back into reading this. Apologies, but don't worry, we're gonna read it today. But anyways, last time we left off, if you guys remember correctly, we met this guy named Cody while we were ice cream, because he suggested us mint chocolate chip, which obviously I love. In real life, I do love mint chocolate chip, and for some reason, even if it wasn't our favorite flavor in the world, we were like, okay, mint chocolate chip, we'll get that. And then Cody invited us to this like type of hold on, I'm looking for the word, a terrace there. So terrace, he invited her to go to the terrace, a secret terrace. As a matter of fact, like no one knows about it, and now we know about it. And at first he thought we were gonna ditch him, but now we not like that. We better than that. And they ended up walking together, you know, sneakily going to the terrace, which is very beautiful. Described it as a lot of roses climbing up the terrace and all that. And it was nice, pretty, and fancy, and almost looked like a romantic date. Also seems like we have a little crushy on this guy right now. And she mentions that that in our brain, not to him, that we're like usually hanging out with not people like him, but we thought he was cute and different and something that we're not really used to, but we're like, oh my god, you're so freaking cute. And like for real, it was kind of, we were just fighting eternally because this guy was just so cute. Eventually, I believe they exchanged numbers and they were talking and all that, sat next to each other, ate ice cream, and talked about biology and how Cody loved biology and is really good at it. We're like, well, we got to take biology to pass and take the career course we want to take or something like that. And he was like, oh, you can call me anytime and I'll help you. And we're like, oh, bro, did we just turn besties or even more? And he's like, any day, I swear I'll help you. And and basically they exchanged numbers, obviously. Now back to present time. I would like to give you guys a warning ahead that the following will mention hints of abuse or just having something bad happen in general. It's mostly hints that are like, oh my gosh, this friend and might not be safe with their partner because blah 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 blah. And it might, you might not really understand as you watch the video, but you'll understand as you get towards the end. And if you're really uncomfortable with the mentions of even like the hint of abuse, you probably shouldn't be watching this video. You have been warned. So I do hope you enjoyed like the little different theme I did. I didn't know that you could do like literally a cool theme on here until recently, which I absolutely love. Y'all look how cool this is, bro. This looks awesome, and I love like the green. I think it symbolizes X virus, or is it just me? Let me know. Or Ben Drown, you know, no hate on Ben Drown. Anyways, we is in chapter 3, coincidences. After exchanging phone numbers with Cody and finishing up your light-hearted conversation over slightly melted mint chocolate chip ice cream, you had bid each other goodbye for the meantime. You returned to your dorm room with a bit of an extra bounce to your step, feeling a bit more elated than you probably should have felt. Powering on your computer once you got back, you still hadn't managed to completely eradicate Cody from your brain. Annoyingly enough, you had other you had other online classes to attend, and it was a wonder that you had remembered to do so. You weren't exactly keeping track of time during your encounter with Cody, and your ice cream date had managed to take up a lot more time than what you had initially noticed. At the very least, you would end up making your classes on time, and you would not be counted as tardy, or even worse, absent. Unfortunately for you though, as you sat through your online classes, you only found yourself able to pay attention with extremely mild interest, propping your head on your balled up fist and leaning your cheek into it. You let out a bored and lazy yawn, just barely managing to process the drowning words that came out of your professor's mouth, turning into bland sentences before morphing into dull paragraphs. Eyes flickering towards the screen of your phone, you couldn't help but wonder if Cody had sent you any kind of messages yet. Of course, it was slightly ridiculous to assume that he would. You were merely a stranger to him, and it was a bit silly to assume that he was thinking about you just as much as you were considering him. Certainly, he wouldn't feel inclined to send you a message so soon, especially since he merely stated that you were free to text him if you needed help with your homework. Letting out a sigh and pressing a single finger to the screen of your phone, you noticed that there were several message notifications, yet none of them were from Cody. Instead, they were all from your other friends, family members, acquaintances, and even occasional persons that you had dated once or twice in the past and had stayed in contact with. Under normal circumstances, you would feel happiness upon noticing the several messages that came from all your friends. Yet this time, you only felt like your stomach dropped unpleasantly. So many messages, yet none for the person that you wanted from the most. You were getting ahead of yourself though, as you had only parted from Cody a little over an hour ago. You wanted to berate yourself for acting so childishly, almost like a young, naive kid that was dealing with their first crush and didn't know how to behave. You were absolutely acting ridiculous, and the last thing that you wanted to do was come off as an obsessive creeper. Understandable. As difficult as it was, you forced Cody out of your mind for the time being. If he texted you, great. But if not, whatever. Blatantly ignoring your professor now, you leaned back in your desk chair and picked up your phone, beginning to respond to the many incoming messages that had piled up in the inbox of your phone before opening up Instagram and replying to comments there. You had many people in your life. It was pointless to attempt to invest so much time and thought into one person that you barely even knew, right? Time skip. Rushing down the main road that cut straight through campus, you grumbled under your breath at the fact that you were currently running late. It didn't help that biology lab was on the complete opposite side of campus from your dorm building, meaning that you had to really book it if you wanted to make it to class on time. After finishing up your online classes the previous day, you had grabbed some dinner and began to prepare for the next day, which included finishing up some homework assignments, all while with no messages of any kind from Cody. As much as you tried to convince yourself that you didn't care, you still found yourself checking your phone more times than you would like to admit for incoming messages. Before finally heading off to bed, you had made sure to set your alarm clock, yet your alarms had unfortunately failed you this morning, meaning that you are now making the mad dash for your only in-person class this semester, your dreaded biolab. Of course, due to the current social distancing restrictions, your in-person class was only scheduled for once a week, on Wednesday mornings. Yet, due to the fact that classes were only once a week, they needed to be very condensed. What am I saying? Condensated. Really condensed in order to fit enough time to conduct all classroom activities and pass on all necessary information to you. Therefore, your class was scheduled to be 3 hours long. You wanted to bang your head in frustration at the very idea of spending 3 hours at a time in a science class. And you sincerely wish that you would have had enough time that morning to grab a coffee on the way to class. Curse your damn alarm clock for not waking you up on time. I would be very, very cranky. Oh, I would be really cranky. Anyway, finally bursting into the classroom, it would seem that you had managed to arrive on time, and you had even a few minutes to spare, much to your relief. The class wasn't very big, as there was a clear attempt to keep class sizes as small as possible in order to minimize the amount of people that you were to be in indirect contact with. However, with the class being a biology lab, you did have to have a lab partner for the duration of the course, meaning that sitting 6 feet apart from other students wasn't really an option. Considering that it was still the beginning of the semester and this would be your first class session, you didn't yet have the opportunity to choose a lab partner or even meet your other classmates. Taking a quick look around the room and eyeing each potential lab partner, your initial reaction was to just choose someone who looked smart or like they would be good at science. Not that you were planning on allowing them to do all the work and benefit off of their boundaries or anything like that, but at the same time, you certainly didn't want to choose anyone who looked like they didn't care about their grades. Understandable. You gotta choose the smartest one. You gotta choose the biggest one in the yard. I mean, what can I say? It's more of a benefit, really. But don't be like lamping off on them, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, you couldn't help but think of Cody. If only he was in this class, you would be quite glad to partner up with him. Yet at the same time, you knew already that he was a biology minor. And this course is a very basic biology course, meaning that he had most likely already taken this class several semesters ago. This would be child's play to him. Finally, your eyes focused on a student that was sitting by herself towards the back of the room. Your initial reaction was to blink a bit in surprise at how beautiful she was. It almost made you a bit hesitant to approach her. Yet, she seemed friendly enough, and just from first expressions alone, like someone that you would have no issues with and getting along with. Maybe that was what possessed you to approach her and boldly ask if she was okay with you sitting next to her. Either that, or it was that she was the only student in the room that didn't seem to have a partner yet. But you like to stay optimistic and keep the prospect of a potential new friend, or maybe something a bit more, open to you. "Hey," you greeted brightly, stifling a yawn behind your mask, as you stood to the side of the table that was just wide enough for the two students to sit together. "Do you mind if I sit here?" "Hi," the girl greeted back, her brown eyes crinkling slightly as she gave you a small yet friendly smile. "Go ahead." She pushed some of her bangs out of her face and ran a brown hand through her short yet slightly wavy black hair. And you can tell that she most likely spent a long time getting her hair up and makeup just perfect. She eyed you in a friendly manner as you got yourself settled in your seat and began to take a notebook and pencil out of your bag. "I love your hair," you commented, attempting to strike up a conversation with the girl. "Thanks," she responded cheerily. "I just got it cut. I used to have really long hair, but I got tired of dealing with it. I thought that a pixie cut would be a little bit more manageable, but it still takes forever to get ready in the morning. I admire your ability to get up and do your hair like that before an 8 a.m. class." You laughed lightly, to which the girl responded with laughter of her own. "I'm YN, by the way," you introduced yourself. "Jocelyn," the girl responded with a name of her own. "But you can call me Jossy." Jossy. Am I saying it right? Jeez. Jossy. I don't really care for my full name. "I think it's beautiful," you responded, cheeks boring just a hint of pink, luckily behind your mask. "But I'll call you by Jossy all the same." Jossy smiled at you yet again, and it looked like she was about to continue on with the conversation, only for the door to the classroom to swing open behind you, expecting your professor to enter the room and for class to begin. The quiet chatter amongst the students in the room died down, yet the one that entered the room seemed to be a bit young to be a professor. In fact, the person who entered the room gave you the surprise of your life. for it was no other than Cody. Cody? Bruh about to give me all the free answers. Oh, goodness. Bro! Oh, now that's a surprise. He's like, surprise, bitches. Anyways, green eyes brightening as they laid on you. He made an immediate beeline for you and Joshy's table. Hi, YN. He greeted, bonding towards you as quickly as he could. Yet, he couldn't really move all that fast, considering the fact that he was holding 2 styrofoam cups of coffee, one in each hand. Imagine seeing you here. I know that you said you had biolab and all, but I never had imagined you would be in the same class that I am a TA for. TA, in other words, a teaching assistant. You never really cared for much for TAs in your other courses, as they were normally underclassmen or graduated students that were irritating, prideful, and naughty. Naughty? They never really did much either, as they normally just grabbed papers, either extremely lazily or like absolute pricks, depending on the TA. Procured exams, helped the professor with answering basic questions during the independent classwork, and the like. You suppose that you disliked TA so much because you were paying tuition to be taught by a professor and not a fellow student. But in this particular situation, you couldn't find much room to complain about who your TA was. Good morning, Cody. You greeted back with a smile of your own. And yeah, you're right. What a coincidence. Whatever you were about to say next, however, was lost due to the massive yawn that you had let out. Oh, are you sleepy? Cody instantly noticed. Here, I've got some coffee. You can have one if you'd like. I went to the cafe this morning and they messed up my first order. So they just made me a new one and let me keep the other one. Here, which one do you like? Lattes or machados? I ordered a latte and they gave me a machado by accident, but I'll still give you the latte if you want. Strangely enough, machados were your go-to order when you went to a cafe. It certainly was convenient. How you were wishing so desperately for coffee, and for Cody to only show up a few minutes later with your favorite kind of coffee in hand. Boy, a magician. If you don't mind, you said, brushing off the weird yet completely helpful coincidence. I love machados, so you can keep your latte. Thanks, Cody. No problem. Cody grinned triumphantly as he turned around and headed towards the front of the classroom, plopping his stuff down rather heavily on the small desk that was sitting next to the professor's main desk and lecture podium. As he began to pull stuff out of his bag, you noticed that while all of his notebooks and texts were neat and organized, he was a bit clumsy with how he placed them on the desk, and even managed to accidentally knock a few pencils on the floor. My boy. Ay. Next to you, Jossy let out a discontent sigh. I really hope this guy won't be doing a lot of actual teaching. She muttered quietly so that only you could hear. How come? You asked, raising an eyebrow in interest as you leaned a bit closer to her, catching a whiff of her floral perfume as you did so. Have you noticed the way he talks? She answered, lowering her voice just a bit more as she noted the way Cody was now eyeing the both of you, leaning a bit closer so you could hear better. You could hear each other. You hoped that she couldn't hear the way your heart began to beat just a tad faster. His speech is very disoriented. I'm afraid that he'll confuse me. Well, he's only a TA. You attempted to reason. He's not the professor or anything. Yeah, I guess. She agreed softly, yet any attempts at further conversation was soon cut off as the actual professor had now entered the room, pulling away from Jossy and sitting up a little bit straighter. You readied your pencil in your hand and opened up your notebook, fully prepared to begin diligent and painting note-taking. Bro, oh my god, that was my worst thing in the whole world. I hate note-taking. Oh my gosh. Alright, y'all, so we is in chapter 4, matches. As it turned out, and totally just as you had expected, it was an incredibly 3 long-hour class. Despite the fact that Cody just happened to be your TA, the professor was a rather elderly lady that spoke in an accent that was a bit difficult for you to understand, and her voice just droned on and on and on. Of course, you had tried to keep up with your attention span and take notes to the best of your ability, but her voice seemed to harder just the right ingredients for you to drift off to sleep. You suppose that she could probably make more money running one of those sleep podcasts as opposed to teaching biology to a bunch of less than impressed college students. Of course, your professor was not the only reason for your dwindling attention. Jossy, who just seemed about as lost and bored as you were, had slipped her phone number towards the beginning of class that you, of course, set your mind spiraling into various possibilities that could ensure just from receiving those 10 digits alone. Aside from Jossy, however, your mind certainly couldn't help but continue to wander back to the messy-haired boy that sat at the small desk next to the professor at the front of the room. Now the class had begun. Appeared that he decided to put on a pair of thick-rimmed black glasses, and you kind of wanted to strangle him for it, as if he couldn't just keep getting cuter. It almost seemed that you never even noticed how attractive you were to a person in glasses, nor dimples, for that matter, and not even the damn tongue piercing, not until you saw it on him. However, now that you did, you found that you just couldn't keep your eyes off him. The entire assemble was just too fucking adorable. He sat at his desk, with his attention dwindling kept on the text and notebook that sat before him. Though you did notice that he pulled out a fidget spinner and fiddled with it while listening to the professor speaking. He seemingly drowned in his black hoodie due to his slightly scrawny form. And every now and then he would get up from his chair in order to write something on the whiteboard behind him in neat, clear, and organized handwriting. Whenever he would get up, he would grab the material of his washed-out gray skinny jeans and give a firm yank in order to pull them back up into place. And you couldn't help but let out a small smile whenever he did. So, how did he ever heard of a belt? Oh my goodness. Girl, you are simping! Simping for this man. Simping. I never seen someone simp so hard until now. Jesus, girl. Damn, got me reading paragraph after paragraph. Oh, goodness. Letting out a lazy yawn, your cell phone vibrating loudly on the desk in front of you caught the attention of more than one person in the room, including Cody, whose green eyes snapped towards you with an unreadable expression. Blushing slightly, half due to the embarrassment upon being the source of a classroom distraction. Oh goodness, I hate that. And half because of Cody's attention, you murmured a half-hearted apology to the rest of your class and sunk down in your seat. Rolling her eyes, the professor continued to speak. Jossy hid her giggles next to you rather well, while Cody only continued to stare. Bruh! Okay, listen, you don't need to stare that much. Well, you couldn't very well pay attention to your phone while Cody was watching. He was a TA after all, and did hold a certain authority over you in the classes. Sure, he probably wouldn't call you out or scold you for being on your phone, yet you suppose that it was just a certain mannerism that you had adapted to. Watching Cody's eyes, your heart skipped a beat and you quickly looked away, choosing to glue your eyes into your notebook in front of you in hope that Cody would look away soon. Luckily enough, he did, turning his back in order to write some more notes on the whiteboard. You certainly weren't going to miss your chance in taking a quick peek at your phone. All you would do is check your phone in order to see who the messages were from, and then immediately begin copying whatever information Cody had written on the board. Lightly tapping a single finger to your phone, the screen lit up to display an incoming message from Jossy. Wondering what it was that she wanted to say to you, even though she was sitting right next to you, you allowed your eyes to gloss over the message. It was only a sentence anyway. Today, 9:16 a.m. Any plans for Friday night? Casting her a side-eye glance, almost as if to say, couldn't this wait after class? Jossy merely gave you a grin behind her mask and shrugged her shoulders. The material of her pink crop top hoodie swishing swishing lightly as she did so, tilting her head slightly towards the side as a question type of gesture. It was obvious that she was awaiting your answer. Taking another moment to glance towards Cody, who still was writing on the whiteboard, you quickly pulled down your mask in order to mouth the words "no plans" to her before promptly returning your mask back into place. It didn't take a genius to figure out that Jossy's grin turned into a slightly mischievous one behind her mask as she pulled her phone back towards her. As she typed out another response, you sent her a glare as you wiped your phone off the desk before it made another obnoxious, class-interrupting vibrating noise against the table. Jossy let out a snort of laughter at this and sent her message, instantly prompting your phone to vibrate against your hand. Just as you were about to take another quick peek at Jossy's response, however, Cody turned around to face the class. He had now finished writing his particularly lengthy note on the board. This man better not say anything. Oh my goodness. Better not say nothing. I better not hear a word out of this man's mouth. His eyes once again zeroed in on you. Sighing, you pulled your bag, which was sitting on the floor, over to you and dropped your phone into your bag. You would just have to wait to read Jossy's message later. Picking up your pencil, you begrudgingly began to copy down the long list of notes that Cody had outlined, more than expecting a hand cramp to ensue once everything was all said and done. This sounds like a utter nightmare, spending 3 hours in biology. Sounds like a damn nightmare. Oh my goodness. It really does. Oh goodness. Time skip. After what felt like forever, your 3 hours long biology class was finally over. As it would seem, not even the presence of Cody could make biology any more interesting. As far as you were concerned, you didn't even get to do any hands-on activities on the lab that day, as it was the first day of class. It would seem that it was filled with basic knowledge, note-taking, and as well as clear and concise list of rules and expectations for behaviors while working in the lab. Not to mention, you were also tasked with a very long and difficult-looking homework assignment, something that you were definitely not looking forward to. Once class had officially ended, you and Joshy immediately began to pack your things into your bags, and falling into conversation with her had taken even less time. Taking a glance towards Cody, you noted that he began storing his items in his old and worn-out black backpack with a few red patches on the side, most likely a half-assed attempt to cover up the holes that had formed there after carrying the backpack for around several years. You wondered why he never even bothered to purchase a new one, yet you suppose that only added to the charm of his character. Strangely enough, you weren't sure why, but it was attractive all the same. So, what did you send me? You asked, finally managing to tear your eyes away from Cody as you focused in on Jossy. Oh, yeah, she recalled. A few of my friends and I are having a small get-together in one of the dorms on Friday night. Of course, it's nothing like a huge party or anything like that. But we all figured that we needed some socialization. We'll wear our mask if you're uncomfortable and everything. You weren't sure why, but you thought that you may have noticed out of the corner of your eyes Cody's shoulder tensing up as he flipped through one of his binders. Perhaps it was nothing, or maybe he was only reacting to something else. In fact, you couldn't even be sure that this was the reaction of his at all. You had only seen it from the opposite side of the room, in your peripheral vision at that. Deciding to ignore the particular reaction and brushed it off as something completely non-related to you and Joshy's current conversation, you grinned at the invitation. That sounds like fun, you admitted. I've been feeling lonely lately as well, with all of this social distancing and stuff. I'd love to meet some new people. Great! Jossy smiled, gesturing for you to follow her out of the room. She continued to speak to you in a loud voice, as you have come to notice that Joshy's normal way of speaking was upfront and confident. Bro, a lot of people complain to me I really talk real loud, and I don't mean to, but yeah, it's very annoying. But whatever. Anyway, not making videos. It's just generally when I talk to people. Physically. It's very awkward after that sometimes. Anyways. Hey, I was also thinking that homework assignment looks really confusing, doesn't it? If you wanted to, we could meet up at the library later and work on it together. I might need a hand. Sounds great, you replied. I wasn't even sure how to get started, but at least we have a week to complete it. Oh, you suddenly remembering you were now preparing to exit the room, you temporarily broke off from your discussion with Jossy and looked over your shoulder, managing to catch Cody's eyes. Certainly, he wasn't staring at you, right? In fact, it's almost as it seemed as his eyes were locked on Jossy's turned back instead. Yet, of course, his expression was unreadable, due to the mask that he wore, as well as due to the fact that he was standing in the complete opposite side of the classroom from you. Cody, you called out, and Cody's eyes instantly darted back towards you. They softened a bit upon landing on you, but you couldn't help but breathe a sigh at absolutely how adorable he was. Can I text you if we need help on the assignment? It looks hard. Oh, of course, he sputtered out, dropping his pencil in his flustered state. I'll help you, Wyan, anytime. Smiling lightly at him, you gave him a wave after thanking him and the professor for teaching the class that day, to which they both blinked at you in surprise. It would seem that they didn't get thanked very often for their hard work that they did when teaching a class, even though the class was definitely boring. You appreciate the work that they did. Exiting the room with Jossy, both of your voices managing to carry into the room right before the door shut behind you. Hey, you want to get coffee before we go to our online classes? Sure. I could use another Machado, whatever it's called. I'm probably saying it so wrong. Apologies, everyone. Apologies on my behalf. Anyways, time skip. Hopping onto your bed after your final online class had ended for the evening, you let out an enormous sigh upon thinking of the various homework assignments that had piled up just after only one day. Scrolling past your message conversation with Jossy, as two of you were attempting to find time where you both could meet at the library to start the assignment for your biolab, you noted, rather dejectedly, that Cody still had yet to text you. Why wasn't he texting you? Maybe he wasn't as keen on you as you were on him. Maybe he was just a friendly guy who decided to randomly strike a conversation with you out at the ice cream parlor, and it was silly to read any more into it. Maybe all he wanted to do was legitimately help you with your homework assignments, because he liked teaching, and that was it. It would make sense, considering that he was a TA and everything. You let out another dramatic sigh. You exited out of your text conversation and rolled your eyes at yourself as you opened up Tinder, your online dating app. You had wasted more than enough time than you would have cared to admit on this app, endlessly scrolling through all the profiles in an attempt to find a match. It was rather annoying. All the guys ever seemed disinterested in doing was sending dick pics or asking for nudes. And it was notoriously difficult to match with a girl. Although you did manage to manage one match every now and then. Matching was the easy part, though. You did have a rather lengthy list of matches, although you could count on one hand the amount of times that any of your matches had actually led to a decent conversation. And the actual dates that you went on thanks to the app were even less. On this app, the various majority of people were after one thing, and one thing only. While you were more interested in finding someone capable of thought-provoking conversations. Maybe you should just give up on this app entirely, as it never really produced any desirable results. You weren't even sure what it was still doing on your phone. You mindlessly swipe left on the majority of the profiles in the form of rejection. Occasionally, you would give people the benefit of the doubt and swipe right, sometimes producing a match and other times with no luck. Yet you didn't really care either way. That is, not until you came across one particular profile, almost causing you to drop your phone in your face in surprise. The name of the profile stated Cody, although that was just about the limit of information that was available. There were no personal bio either, as the profile section was just left blank of just about any type any type of text. However, the only picture that was available on the profile was undeniably him. Messy brown hair and pale skin. The boy grinned a wide, dimpled grin at the camera. In fact, the smile was so cutely wide that his eyes crinkled as well, barely exposing the beautiful emerald color of his eyes. His teeth, while white, were slightly crooked, yet it suited him in the most pleasant way. His simple red t-shirt was a bit crinkled, yet presentable. Your finger hovered over the profile tentatively. You already did have his number, so it seemed a bit silly an attempt to match with him on Tinder. But if you did indeed match with him, you would only be granted further confirmation that he was interested in you as well, right? Taking a shaky breath, you swiped right, indicating that Tinder that yes, you did like this profile. Immediately upon swiping, the words, "It's a match," appeared on your phone in large, bubbly text. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. That's just funny as hell. Oh Lord. Okay, now we're in chapter 5. Messages. Oh goodness. Even though you had matched with Cody, you had went through the rest of your evening, the entire night, and all of the next morning with no message from him of any kind, be it through text or Tinder, letting out an ultimate sigh of dejection as you had to come to the conclusion that he just wasn't that into you. You had instead passed the time having rather lengthy conversation with Jossy, who texted you back with almost the same amount of frequency in between messages that you had with her. Through your conversations with Jossy, you had come to learn that she had a boyfriend, causing your stomach to drop just slightly in an unpleasant fashion. You had managed to get over this tiny blow quite easily, however, as she still seemed like a really cool person that you definitely wanted to become friends with, at the very least. That being said, the way that she talked about this supposed boyfriend just felt a bit off to you. While it would seem like she had nothing but positive things to say about him, the language that she used sounded a bit forced, idealistic, and authentic. It's almost as if it was scripted, or rehearsed words and phrases that she had been saying for so long. Something that she didn't truly believe. Just got used to saying it, that she inadvertently convinced herself that it was true. Either way, you made a mental note to keep tabs on her and this boyfriend, that you had come to the conclusion that you didn't like him. In fact, you were growing quite concerned. For the past 24 hours or so, your conversation with Jossy had failed to miss a beat. Ably the hours you had been asleep. Yet, after your last message, which was sent over a little bit of 2 hours ago, she had yet to respond. It was a bit worrisome because it was a text confirming the exact time of your plans to meet up in the library that very evening. Plans that the both of you had already agreed to. Now she had yet to confirm the time. You attempted to brush it off and tell yourself she was probably just studying or had an online class that she failed to mention. Unfortunately, you had a hard time shaking the feeling that something was wrong. Uh-oh. You sat at the desk of your dorm room and brainlessly flipped through the pages of the textbook, eyes scanning the words without actually reading them or eternally processing their meaning. Your phone vibrating against your desk, jolting you back to reality. Lazily picking up your phone and fully prepared to read whatever message Jossy had sent you, as she was the only one that had been continuously talking that day. You had been continuously talking to that day. Your heart almost jumped out of your chest as you read the message of the contact that had appeared on your screen above the incoming message. It wasn't Jossy. It was Cody. Actually standing up from your desk in excitement, your heart continued to thump in place while you couldn't contain your nerves, resulting in you pacing around the room like a loon as you giggly smiled at the incoming message. Your heart dropped to your knees, yet not in the unpleasant way in which it did when Jossy had had told you she had a boyfriend. Instead, it was plummeting to the floor in woozy infatuation. Oh my goodness, girl. This girl is simping beyond the stars. Okay, today at 2:34 p.m. Hi, I hope I'm not bothering you. I was just wondering if you had any plans for tomorrow. Maybe we could work on the bio assignment if you still need help, that is. Tomorrow. Tomorrow as in tomorrow? Like the next day? That tomorrow? As in Friday? You couldn't help the ridiculous thoughts that buzzed through your head. And once you realized them, you were sure that you had lost a few brain cells. You shook your head and let out an actual scoff out utterly ridiculous you were and how you were currently behaving. You had never got this worked up or flustered over anyone. You had always been blessed to have many people in your life, and if one person didn't work out for whatever reason, you were always comforted in the fact that there were so many more people to meet, interact with, hang out with, date, and be friends with. It didn't really bother you all that much upon learning that Jossy wasn't single, but for some reason, you just knew you would get rather jealous if you learned that Cody was dating someone else. Your fingers hovering over your phone took a moment to consider how you should respond. Cody had asked about tomorrow, which was Friday. You had already accepted an invitation to hang out with Jossy and her friends in the evening, so you really hoped that Cody wasn't asking to work on homework at that time. It would be much better if he would be available to meet in the afternoon, perhaps after studying together. If he was free, then he would be willing to attend the small get-together with Jossy, as long as Jossy was alright with you bringing another person with you. You opted to respond to his message almost immediately, as if you weren't to fall into stupid dating game traps. And you adamantly refused upon playing the utterly ridiculous "you made me wait for your message, so now you're gonna wait on mine" game. Texting back a message that was filled with other excitement, cute emojis, and the indication that you would love to meet up in the afternoon if he had time. You lightly placed your phone on top of your desk and made sure that the ringer was on full volume so you could be alerted as soon as he responded. After all, you didn't want to come across as uninterested. You counted your lucky stars in the fact that Cody did not take long to respond as well, for it only took a couple of minutes for your phone to ring out again, announcing the new message. Cody had confirmed that he was free to meet up after 3 in the afternoon, and then embarrassingly enough, invited you to join him for pizza after you had finished your assignment. That's cute. I like it. The mere invitation was just enough to cause your heart to once again spiral out of control with its thumps and bangs in the midst of your chest. And you really wanted to accept. However, you hadn't forgot about your promise, Jossy. Today at 2:41 p.m. I was actually thinking, though. I'm meeting a few friends tomorrow evening for a little get-together. Would you like to come with us? I'm sure they wouldn't mind another person after all. Shouldn't you be social distancing? This man! Oh my goodness. Whatever. Ouch. Social distancing. You didn't consider that he would have been so particular about it. Although you suppose that it was dangerous to assume anything about anyone, especially in a time such as a global pandemic. In a way, you could definitely see his point of view and his desire to follow the guidelines that have been set out by the World and National Health Associations. The rules were there for a reason, and it would most definitely be smart to follow them. Certainly a group of 2 was safer than a group of 5 or 6, or how many people would be attending Jossy's get-together. Now you were unsure. Should you attend Jossy's little party, for the lack of a better term, or should you opt to go with pizza with Cody? For one thing, you didn't want Cody to feel nervous hanging out with you because he was concerned that you had caught the virus from someone else's after attending a social gathering. Or even worse, did not want to hang out with you at all over the worries of getting sick. On the other hand, you were legitimately looking forward to hang out with Jossy and her friends and catching up with some overdue socialization. If you were to go out with Cody and get pizza, it would be a much smaller group, which would significantly lessen the chances of getting sick, since
it would just be the two of you. Additionally, wasn't a date with Cody that you really wanted as well? Not that you were even sure if you considered it an actual date or not, but it would certainly feel like one to you. On the flip side of things, in all dining restaurants were shut down, meaning that most places offered takeout or delivery only, in which case, where would you go to eat? Perhaps his place? Or your dorm? Certainly not. It was way too early for that, on the slight chance that Cody was even interested in you at all. Your face burned red at the mere thought. Furrowing your eyebrows, you began by hastily sending an apology to Cody, stating that you were sorry if you made him feel uncomfortable with your proposal, to which he immediately replied with light words of reassurance, as well as stating that he just didn't want you to get sick by attending large gatherings. Ultimately, your plans for tomorrow were left on an uncertain note, with definite arrangements to meet tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon in order to work on your homework assignment together. Cody had suggested that the two of you meet at a cafe that was close to the campus. You were quite familiar with this particular cafe, and only for a fact that it even had an outdoor seating that was still open to the public, as long as every other table was appropriately roped off so that no two groups of guests were sitting too close to each other. It may just end up that you would have waited a few extra minutes until a table opened up due to the limited seating, yet you were more than comfortable with that. You'd be in good company, as you would have Cody to wait with. Time skip. After ending your conversation with Cody and finalizing your plans for at least the following afternoon, you continue to go about your day with still no further communication with Jossy. You couldn't help but feel slightly worried about your new friend. You had only known her for a little over a day at this point, but the two of you had spent a lot of substantial amount of time chatting already, and you were beginning to realize her current silence to be a bit odd, especially considering that you were still waiting on further confirmation on your plans to meet up at the library that evening. That finally deciding that study plans at the library with Jossy were simply not going to happen that day, you settled yourself into your bed after a hot shower with full intentions to continue binge watching your favorite TV show. You had managed to get through about 5 minutes of the next episode of your show when your phone started to ring out with a particular ringtone, indicating an upcoming phone call instead of a text message. Lightly sighing, you paused your TV show as the open scene of this particular episode was uniquely suspenseful, and grabbed your phone before taking a glance at the screen and seeing Jossy, and seeing that Jossy was currently attempting to contact you. Accepting the call, you pressed your phone against your ear, hoping that Jossy wasn't still planning to meet you at the library, as you had literally just finished up with your evening shower and had no further intentions to leave the dorm room for the rest of the evening. "Hey," you greeted lightly. "What's up?" "Hey, YN," Jossy responded, although for some reason her voice didn't sound like her at all. Sure, it was undeniably her voice, but there was no confident, fun, or carefree vibe that it normally carried. Instead, it sounded like robotic, monotonous, I can't say this word. Apologies, skipping that word. And dreary. "I'm really sorry I didn't contact you sooner, but I'm gonna need to cancel tonight." "Oh, that's okay," you immediately reassured her, yet your facial expression crinkled up in confusion as you could hear the sound of your own voice echoing in Jossy's end. "Did she have you on speakerphone?" Not that you minded, as you sometimes put your phone on speaker as well when you were cooking or something else of that nature. While talking on the phone, although you always made sure you let the person on the other end know that you had currently had them on speaker, it was just common courtesy. "Yeah, you know." She spoke again, pausing a bit in order to let out a little laugh. A laugh that sounded very, very fake. "Last minute plans with my boyfriend and all." "Okay," you said, trying hard to keep the suspicion out of your voice. "Let me know if you'd like to reschedule." "Thanks," she said quietly. Just before hanging up, you could have sworn that you heard another voice on the other end that did not sound like Jossy. for it was deep, masculine, and a bit scary. It sounded like he was yelling at her. Oh shit. Oh hell nah. Okay, better not be Cody. Shit. Alright, so I'm gonna go through the comments because the discussion must be real. It must be real. I really do hope that Joshie is okay though, because damn. Imagine assuming that I murdered your boyfriend. Icky boyfriend. Yeah, I know. It's okay, Joshie. We'll beat him up for you. I'll do it for free. Nope, let's beat a fucker. I have no problem chasing a dipset out with a fucking frying pan. It wouldn't be my first time with less reasoning. I like the story so far, and Cody seems absolutely adorable. My heart is stolen from your reditation, whatever, of him. My first time hearing Cody was from Recruited. And I decided to do more research on the character, and I find him kind of creepy, but I love it nonetheless. And goddamn, Joshie, are you being abused, girl? Are you being abused? Now as we just noticed, my listeners, we are seeing a victim of a boyfriend. Now, at first I thought she was faking it to us to let her know that she wasn't available, but now I'm like, oh no, this girl does not like her boyfriend and is not falling in love with him. She is scared of him. And that's not how it should be ever. If you're in a similar situation like Joshie, where you're being abused by your partner, please get away as fast as you can. It is not worth it. Do not feel like they love you, because they truly don't. They are manipulating you. Don't make yourself believe those type of things when it's not true. Try to think of the realistic side of it and not the side you would want of that person, that partner. Try to think rationally and realistically, not morally at this point. Like, realistically, you should get away from them ASAP. You know what I'm saying? And if you can get help from a friend or from loved ones or anyone near you that is willing to help you out, get the help that you need to get out of there. It's not worth staying. Ever. In Joshie's position, I really do hope that she will be okay. This is already like past 40 minutes. It's crazy, but I really do hope that Joshie will be okay. In the meantime, though, now I got a question for y'all. What do y'all think is going to happen to Joshie in the next chapters that we're going to be reading in the future? What do you think will happen? Will we end up being too late to save her? Or will we somehow be able to either save her, get her the help she needs to get out of the relationship ASAP? Let me know in the comments down below. I am entirely curious, and I'm really interested to know. Also, if you guys have any theories of what is happening so far, also let me know in the comments down below. I have no current theory other than the fact that, yeah, Joshie looks like she has a very abusive partner that clearly likes to take control of her and all that, and we don't like that. We don't like that around here. And I do hope the best for Joshie. Pray for her. But yeah, I just wanna, you know, put that heads up there. Anything else? I'm not entirely sure. All I do know 100%, trillion%, as a matter of fact, that our girl, us here, YN, she's a simper. I've never seen YN simp so much for one dude. Oh my goodness. I wouldn't be surprised though. She is simping hard, bro. So hard she's hitting her face against the damn wall. Bop, bop. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if I was in her position, I would mind. But not like that. Oh goodness. I've never seen so much symmetry in a chapter in my entire life. Oh goodness. Anyways, if you guys have any more other suggestions of what I should be reading in the future, is because I would like to remind y'all, some books are coming to an end. And I'll give you a hint. It involves slashers. And it also involves two books It involves mainly around slashers. Give me your best guess and, well, comment them down below. Anyways, and sadly, your girl's gotta go. Now, before I officially go, I would like to leave y'all guys with some side notes. So for the side notes, I'd like to say first things first. I might not be able to post too many videos too often, my darlings, and I do apologize for that, but I do start band camp very, very, very soon, like next week, Monday soon. So I might not be able to spend as much time editing or making videos. So apologies for some delays and all that. Please understand that girl's gonna be working a little extra for straight up 7 hours. A little upset about that, but you know, it is what it is. It's marching band. What do you expect? So yeah, I just want to keep y'all reminded of that. But that's kind of all I wanted to give y'all side notes about. I do hope you also guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. But sadly, your girl's gotta now officially go. Bye and peace, y'all.